In this video, I'll show you how to add text to your images. Here's an image I found. I want to create beautiful type to enhance this image so I can use it on the front page of my website. Here's how we can add type. First, come to the horizontal type tool in the toolbar. If you click and hold down, you can select the horizontal or vertical type tools. The vertical type tool is used to add vertical text, like Japanese text, for instance. In this image, I want my type to be horizontal, so I'll select the horizontal type tool. From here, you can then add text in two ways. You can click and start typing anywhere in your image, or you can define a shape that constrains your text. So that we can see the text we type in, let's first change the font size up here in the options bar. Select the font size and type in a font size for your text. I'll type in 155, and then press enter or return. Click in a part of your image and start typing. This is called point type. For the purposes of trying out text on this image, I'm just using the default font, but I'll fine-tune this later for sure. When using point type with the horizontal type tool, the text expands horizontally from where you clicked. To move the text where you need it in your design, you can move the cursor away from the text, and when a pointer appears, just click and drag. Up here in the options bar, click the check mark, or you can press Command Return or Control Return to finish working on this text. Next, I'll show you another way to add text, and then I'll show you how to format that text. Say I've got a poster and I want the text to be contained in a certain area. You can click and drag to define an area to type into. Before we start typing, let's change the font size of the text just so it looks a little bit better by choosing a smaller size up here in the options bar. Any text I type in will wrap inside this boundary. This type of text is called area type. I'd really like this text to wrap to 2 lines in a certain way. We can easily resize the text area to do this. Click and drag one of the handles you see to resize the text box. To move this type of text where you need it in your design, you can move the cursor away from the text. When a pointer appears, just click and drag. When you're done and you want to move on, you can click the check mark in the options bar, or press Command and Return or Control and Return to finish working on this text. Now that you've got some text in your image, what if you want to change the way it looks? With the horizontal type tool selected, you can click directly on text and then drag across to selected. You can then change type formatting options up here in the options bar. You can select the font, change the style, change the size. Click here to change the color. Click to sample a color, and then click OK. I'll drag the text over so it looks a little better. Here's a tip. Suppose I had another tool like this Move tool selected, and I need to select some text. When you create text in Photoshop, a type layer is created in the Layers panel. Another way to select your text is to double-click the T in the Layers panel. This will select the text in your Photoshop file. You can then make any text formatting changes you want, like changing the color or changing the font. To finish editing, you can then click the check mark in the options bar or press Command and Return or Control and Return to finish working on this text. There's so much more you could do to your type in this design. Find out how to explore and find the perfect font for your designs with Photoshop CC on Adobe.com. In this video, I'll show you how to quickly preview fonts available to you in Photoshop CC, and I'll show you how to choose from additional fonts in Adobe Typekit. Adobe Typekit is an extensive list of fonts and font families which integrate with many of your Creative Cloud applications and comes with Creative Cloud. To preview fonts in your design, select the horizontal type tool in the toolbar. Click directly on some text and then drag across to select it. To change the font on the text, click the Font Family menu up here. To help find the perfect font, you can sort fonts by categories like serif and sans serif. Scrolling through the font list, you can see which font best fits your design. You can see a live preview in real time. The fonts are arranged by font family, and by clicking the arrow here, you can see the different styles available. I'll click to apply this one. When you're done choosing a font, you can click the check mark in the options bar or press Command and Return or Control and Return to finish working on this text. While you can choose from the list of fonts in your machine, Let's see how to search for and add fonts from the thousands available in Adobe Typekit. To use Typekit, I'll first select some more text with the horizontal type tool selected. Then I'll click the Font Family menu. In the Font Family menu, click Add Fonts from Typekit. The Typekit website opens in your browser. You can sort the fonts you see based on properties like serif or sans serif. I'll choose to sort by script fonts. Make sure that Sync is selected, which returns a list of fonts that you can use in any of your Creative Cloud apps. You can preview the fonts on text you type in here. If you know a font by name, you can type the name here to sort the list further. Or you can simply scroll through this list of fonts. Your available list of fonts might look different than mine depending on the type of Creative Cloud membership you have and which fonts you've already installed. And keep in mind that Adobe Typekit is always adding more fonts for its members. You can install all the fonts you think might look good in your designs. When you've found a font you like, I'm going to pick Lust Script, hover the pointer over the font in the list, and click Use Fonts. You can then click to sync the font. Syncing a font makes it available on your computer and also available to all of your other Creative Cloud apps. Once you have your chosen font or fonts synced, back in Photoshop, select the text again if you need to, then click the Font Family menu. You can filter by Typekit in the Font Family menu to see your newly installed fonts, and then click to apply one of them. Now you know how to explore all the fonts available to you in Photoshop CC and Adobe Typekit. You can do so much more to your type, such as changing the spacing between lines and characters, and using the new Glyphs panel to add special symbols and characters to make your design unique. In this video, you'll learn how to refine the type in your design by modifying type. Some of the aspects of type that make great design include attention to the spacing between characters and lines, the style of your text, and the use of special characters called glyphs. These factors and more make for great design. In Photoshop, you can easily make basic edits to your text such as color, size, font, and more. Let's make some edits to text. With the horizontal type tool selected, click on Text, then drag across your text to select it. Open the Character panel here. You'll see some of the same options as in the Options bar up here, but there are so many more ways to refine the text, such as spacing between letters, spacing between lines, all caps, and so much more. As I look at my type, I like the font, but I'd like to experiment with other type formatting options and see if I can make the text a little bit easier to read with more air. I want to see how it looks in all caps. I can do that by clicking the All Caps button here in the Character panel. I could also make the type small caps, all underline, and a lot more. To add more space between the letters, you can add tracking. In the Character panel, you'll see the tracking option here. Adjust the tracking value. A positive value spreads the characters apart, and a negative value brings them closer together. There, I like that. That's much easier to read. I also think there could be more space between the lines of text, so they're more easily readable. This is called leading and can be found here. I'll apply some leading until the lines of text are more readable. If I really want to make this banner unique, I can customize characters with glyphs. A recent feature added you might not know about is the Glyphs panel. Glyphs are graphic shapes that represent a character, like a copyright symbol for instance, or part of a character. Let's explore glyphs in the Glyphs panel. But first I'll click the check mark in the Options bar to finish editing the selected text. Then with the horizontal type tool selected, I'll click in some other text. Open the Glyphs panel by choosing Window, Glyphs. Here you can see all of the available glyphs in a chosen font. You can view alternates for currently selected glyphs and access commonly used glyphs. If I choose this Symbols category, for instance, I can see a lot of commonly used symbols like copyrights, bullets, numbers, and so much more. To add one to your text, you can simply double-click on the glyph. I'll choose the entire font category again to see all of the glyphs for this font. I'll select a different glyph for this character I select to give it a little bit of flourish. This creates a completely unique look for my image. By the way, this little square indicates there are extra glyphs for a character. Another recent feature is the Glyphs in Context menu, which makes it even easier for you to work with glyphs. If you select a character with the horizontal type tool and hover over that character, the Photoshop Glyphs in Context menu shows you alternate glyphs available for that character right on the canvas. Now you know how to refine the typography in your design by using glyphs and modifying spacing. Check out other Adobe tutorials on adobe.com. In recent releases of Photoshop CC, there are a few new font features added and updated that you might not know about. In this video, we'll cover different ways Photoshop can help you find great fonts for your design, including finding fonts in an image or photo and fonts that are similar to the one you're using. Here's a screenshot I took of a website, but I could use any photo I have, including those I took when I was out and about. I'm going to try to identify the font in this screenshot. I could try finding this font in my existing fonts I already have in Photoshop by looking through them, but I've got thousands installed and it could take me a very long time. Instead, if I have a photo with a Latin font like English, we can use the new Match Font feature in Photoshop to identify the font in the photo. First, open the image in Photoshop. Select the rectangular marquee tool and drag to select the region of the image that contains the text. Choose Type, Match Font. Photoshop shows me the possible fonts that are a match that I already have installed on my machine, and it searches the Typekit library and identifies fonts that are available to your Creative Cloud subscription level. So that even if you don't have the font installed, you can click the cloud icon in the Match Font dialog box, which will sync the font to your machine. To use this, crop tightly on the text that you want to identify, and notice that you can adjust or move your selection to a different part of the photo or screenshot to identify other fonts. I like all the fonts in this, but here's the one I'm really interested in finding. I'll select Abolition Soft and click OK. Now I'm going to use the font identified by Photoshop, Abolition Soft, in the design I'm working on right now. There. I think this font works well in this design. Now, in case you'd like to keep exploring, I'll show you how to use another cool new feature in Photoshop that helps you find similar fonts and see how they look directly in your design. To find a similar font, select the horizontal type tool, click in some text, and then drag across to select it. I want to see if there's a similar font that has a lighter feel to it. With the text selected, click the Font Family menu up here to show the fonts available to you. In the menu, click here to see a listing of fonts similar to this one. After looking through the list of fonts that appears, I'll choose this one because it has the look and feel of the original, but it's a little bit lighter in weight and better matches my design. Now you know several different ways to find fonts in Photoshop CC. To learn about other topics on typography, such as adding illustrative elements and graphics, and using Photoshop's 3D effects to do things like extrude the text, check out more tutorials on adobe.com.